Hey, this is Pramod Nair of the Department of English, the University of Hyderabad. Here we continue our lessons on post-humanism, and today's session will be devoted to what we can think of as arguably the most visible component of post-human theory, post-humanist school of thought, and expressions of these. And that is what we will call popular post-humanism. And you can think of any number of novels, popular films, TV series, which have dealt with a range of post-humanist themes and post-humanist concerns, problematized several of them, asked ethical and moral questions about them. And you know that many of these originated in the 80s, where the first wave of popular representations of the cyborg emerged in the form of the now cult works Arnold Schwarzenegger playing the cyborg in the Terminator series. It appears even before that in the fiction of a writer we don't unfortunately read anymore, and that would be Philip K. Dick, whose Minority Report, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, provided the basis for any number of hugely successful films and adaptations. We now have more and more films of that variety. Blade Runner, Blade Runner's sequel. We have AI, we have Transcendence, we have Ex Machina, and numerous others. We have Lucy, the Matrix series, which are also versions of it, replicas. Then, of course, the clone texts, which would include Never Let Me Go and others. So there is, in other words, a vast corpus of popular culture representations of the post-human. They are not identified within the popular culture lexicon as post-human, but if you look at the thematic concerns and the ideological positions in these films and texts, by which I mean, of course, fiction as well as the film versions, you will see that several of the concerns we have been talking about and will be talking about in the next sessions, next classes, are to be found in these cultural texts. The main thing about popular posthumanism in literature and in films is that it focuses on corporeal fluidity, which is to say the fluidity of the body. It's interested in blurred identities and lives that are a crossover between the machine and the human. And the corporeal fluidity, the blurred identities, are, as we know, central to how posthumanists visualize the human itself, that we share borders with the machine, we share borders with the non-human, we share borders with the non-living. And the modified bodies, the advanced, quote, enhanced bodies, primarily to do with Schwarzenegger's representation in Terminator and, of course, Robocop and other texts. It means that we can look at 3 or 4 principal thematic representations of posthumanism in the popular cultural imagination, and that is the organic, inorganic hybrids of human and the machine, bionic bodies, the digitized personalities, where the personality exists primarily in digital form with a disembodied status, then the trans-species bodies of human and animal hybrids, artificial beings, which would be clones and others. Never Let Me Go will figure prominently in all these narratives, and enhanced humans. In most of the popular representations listed here, the post-human is projected as a in the future creature, hypothetical, speculative, whose abilities, whose personalities are way ahead of the humans. So the interest in popular posthumanism is to speculate on the kind of human hybridized, trans-species, corporeally fluid, of the kind of human who will emerge in the future, who, like I said, will be a hybrid with machines, or will be a trans-species with other non-human life forms, perhaps. So the popular post-humanist concern is with the future of human evolution, that how does the human look forward to the next stage in evolution. Okay, so this is popular posthumanism's principal focus, and it has specific interest in certain kinds of technologies. You may recall that we began our lessons on the contexts of posthumanism by looking at the forms of technological innovation that posthumanists are concerned with. Their favorite technologies for documenting and speculating on human futures and posthuman lives is it's a short list: artificial intelligence, cloning and stem cell or biotech engineering, cryogenics, which is the freezing of the body and then being revived later. We spoke about this the other day when we referred to Nick Bostrom and the transhumanists. Bionic implants and prostheses, alien technologies which might be well ahead of that of the humans, which of course is the source of considerable sci-fi horror, that there might come a race, a species from a distant planet whose technological advances are way beyond what we can even imagine. And if so, would those aliens, creatures, ETs, extraterrestrials, pose a threat to the human civilization on Earth? This is favorite speculative fiction for many people. So what we can think of as alien technology. So let's start with the most popular version, even within the popular, of the posthuman, and that would be the cyborg, or a cybernetic organism, which is the original science term which becomes amalgamated into cyborg, cybernetic organism. The cyborg in popular or populist posthumanism is a border creature. It is somewhere between the human and the machine. It's neither human nor machine. It's both human and machine. The cyborg is somebody or something. It depends on which ideological position you take. Do you want to classify the human as a cyborg, or the cyborg as a human, or do you want to classify the cyborg as just a machine? That is a certain kind of ideological position to take in posthumanism. But the cyborg is one that disturbs the taxonomic system, disturbs the classificatory system. The point is, the cyborg looks like human but is not fully human. The cyborg might behave like human but is not human. And the anxiety that the cyborg induces in humanity is because not that it is different from us, but that it's a little too much, too familiar and too alike in terms of its resemblance to the humans. Which means to say that a creature made clearly of just metal and looks like a machine is less threatening than a machine that looks like the human. And I want this distinction to be underscored, so I'll repeat it. A chair which is motorized and behaves like a living creature, a particular alien monster like you see in the film Alien, those are one kind of threat, one kind of monstrosity, but they're very clearly not human. They're very evidently strange, bizarre creatures. Those induce dread and anxiety, yes, but what is more frightening is to look at a creature that is very similar to the human but is not quite human. So the cyborg is one that induces anxiety not because it looks like a completely alien creature, but because it looks like us. It looks like the human. So the more parallels that you can see, the more affinity that you can see between the cyborg creature and the human means more anxiety levels. For popular humanists and post-humanists, and for popular critiques of this, the cyborg is the marker of the end of the human. It marks an extinction of the human, and in many cases you see a certain nostalgia for humanity which is lost, humanity which is dead, which is extinct. So the cyborg is an index, a symbol of considerable cultural and social anxiety that the human is disappearing. Okay, And therefore there is a little bit of a nostalgia that humans as we know it are disappearing. And as a way of dealing with this threat, you discover in many of these popular texts a rehumanization of the cyborg, which usually means a cyborg who has sentiments. The Terminator series initiated this theme where over a period of its sequels, the cyborg, which is Arnold Schwarzenegger, eventually begins to exhibit human-like qualities, whether concern for the child or the woman, questions of care, a notional idea of compassion and things like that. So in a way of countering the anxiety about the disappearing human, the popular film or popular novel speaks and represents a rehumanization of the human itself, so that you feel the threat is a little less less intense. The cyborg and the popular representations of the cyborg focuses on disembodiment. Disembodiment is, and please recall what we have looked at here in terms of transhumanism, disembodiment is the desire to move beyond the body, beyond the biological body, to transcend its weaknesses, as we discussed when we talked about transhumanism. Bionic beings, prosthetic memory, humans with weird kinds of attachments and technological advancements are bionic. They have implants, and they represent the secret human desire to transcend the limits of the human form, to overcome the weaknesses of the human form, so that the human is no longer restricted to or limited by his or her body. Disembodiment is, like I mentioned in the other class on transhumanism, simply reiterates the Enlightenment dichotomy of mind versus body, where the primacy is given to the mind. And in cyberpunk fiction initiated by William Gibson in his early novel Neuromancer, which coined the term cyberspace. Gibson did it on a typewriter when there was no concept of something called the internet and cyberspace. He defined it. Cyberpunk fiction and cyberpunk film is particularly fond of the disembodiment theme, where they reduce or modify the human exclusively into consciousness, and the body is secondary to it. The body is something that can collapse and erode and even waste away, but the consciousness remains. So it gives primacy to consciousness as being at the core of the human, as being the human. This is what the human is, and this is important because it, like I said, reiterates the Enlightenment ideology of the primacy of the human mind over the human body. Now, next theme is artificial intelligence. The artificial intelligence in films of different kinds. We have Lucy, we have AI, we have Transcendence, and of course the Avengers series. These are attempts to determine whether the arrival of artificial intelligence creates a technological utopia, or whether this utopia will turn into a dystopia, where all the ideals and ideas about perfection, about efficiency, about productivity are inverted because of what the AI sets out to do. The AI in these films usually initiates a collapse, and the conditions a life existence turns into a nightmare because the artificial intelligence proceeds to the point where it's no longer under human control. And this is the stuff of scientific and cultural nightmares. For example, in Lucy, as you might recall from the film, the artificial intelligence develops telekinesis while also being emotionless, and Lucy becomes the network, becomes the system. In the Matrix series also, we have the AIs and the computers which have asserted considerable more power and control over the universe than the humans had intended. We have Ultron in the Avengers that wishes to do the same thing, to eventually take control of the Earth. The fear of the created becoming more powerful than the creator is a favorite theme in all these texts. It's initiated, of course, by Mary Shelley's classic work, Frankenstein, where the creature, as it's called, it must be remembered that the creature is not Frankenstein. Frankenstein is the creator. Victor Frankenstein is the scientist. But we always refer to the creature itself as Frankenstein, which is not speaking true. The creature appears to become more and more powerful, and the scientist is worried that the creature has far more agency, far more power, far more abilities than originally bestowed upon it. This is the stuff of nightmares. In dystopias or inverted techno-utopias, the fear of the artificial intelligence taking over the world, or the artificial intelligence in the hands of, say, totalitarian regimes, is the stuff that drives much techno-dystopias. Then, of course, we come to a different set of ethical problems in films and novels that are about artificial beings, such as Kazuo Ishiguro's Never Let Me Go. The clones in Ishiguro's Never Let Me Go, as some of you may be aware, have been created so that they can donate their vital organs in order to keep the humans alive. Now, the word donate is interestingly used because donation implies voluntary sacrifice, voluntary donation, as in you offer to do it of your own free will. But the clones in Never Let Me Go are not given the choice whether they want to donate their organs or not. So those of you are unfamiliar with the novel, the clones are supposed to give up their vital organs because the dying or the sick humans need them. And after the fourth such donation of their vital organs, the clones complete. Basically, they die. So the humans are actually kept alive by the clones and their organs. So in many ways, the clones are humans insofar as they can feel, they think, they behave like humans do. But their destinies are not something they govern. Their destinies are what has been predestined in very literal ways for them, and there is no choice there. The clones and the replicas are frightening because they look like the humans. They are not frightening because they are machines, but because they are very similar to us. Cloning and its ethical consequences, and we know this debate well outside the literary as well, from the cloning of Dolly the sheep to the present, where they are trying to bring back the animals that have been extinct for some time, including the woolly mammoth and other the ibex and others via cloning technologies. But the point I want to underscore is that the boundary between the human and the clone is blurred in these texts, particularly Never Let Me Go. Like I said, they are human because they think, they feel, they respond, they behave like humans. And in what way are they less than human is a moot point. Cloning and its ethical consequences are the subject of popular post-humanist debates because it suggests and it criticizes, it worries over the point that perhaps humanity is actually here playing God, and that this is not acceptable, that we are not allowing nature to run its course, that we are determining the course that nature will lead. The popular post-humanist versions of these kinds of films also wonder, and this is all the way back to Blade Runner, and we see versions of this even now. Blade Runner is, of course, based on Philip K. Dick's classic novel. The debate is also around the question as to whether the humans ought to create a new slave race. So the clones serving as, or artificial beings serving as servitors, as servants, is this acceptable? So popular posthumanism also dwells upon these. Then of course we turn to the most controversial one of all, and that is the enhanced humans. When we look at transcendence or replicas, even in many ways Robocop, these are popular representations of humans who have assimilated machinery and modifications into their body. We all know about the real life sports person Pistorius, often nicknamed Blade Runner because he has prosthetic shoes, blades on his feet because he is otherwise not able to function. For posthumanists, especially in popular posthumanism, the human that has assimilated machinery into his or her body, digitized their minds, or cloned themselves or enhanced themselves, which means that they might have super intelligence, they might have superior abilities and qualities, whether it is strength or immunity to disease or whatever it might be. This is a major ethical question as to whether humans should enhance themselves via these interventions. As we will see in a later lesson, this has a whole bunch of ethical problems. But for now, we will just think about and ponder over the fact that the enhanced humans might have qualities that make them superhuman in that sense. So, in most of these popular representations, as we have seen, whether it's about AI or clones or the enhanced human, the larger debate is whether the post-human is an inevitable future avatar of the present day human, whether at some point the humans will evolve in this fashion. In some cases, is the transcendence of the body, is the escape from the body an attempt to erase or avoid racial identities and its particularly terrible history, is a moot point. In the case of films like Lucy or Ex Machina or Never Let Me Go, there is of course the gender angle where there is a female cyborg, and whether this agency, this female cyborg's agency, self-awareness and identity to be subsumed under the social techno order, in which case the question is whether a female cyborg has the same kind of agency in a world such as ours as a male cyborg, or does patriarchy and patriarchal structures of power, patriarchal structures of authority also create complications for the female cyborg? So popular posthumanism obviously has a range of themes, right from the question of whether we should clone, is it ethical to clone, whether the creatures we create are supposed to behave in a certain way, the role of artificial intelligence which might at some point overcome its human creators and begin to function on its own, the question of the human machine, human animal hybrid, the cyborg and others, and of course the question of the enhanced human. We will have reasons to return to most of these later. Thank you.